Hey guys, hello. Welcome, welcome. Spartan, thank you for the 2 years. Oh my god. Nipple juice, thank you for the tier 2. For 8 months. Appreciate it. We also had a Meat Rose 13 months. Q-Tip said, oh yes, jazz, the perfect music to warm up for some ripping and tearing. Yeah, I thought it'd be nice to keep this vibe for a minute before we completely flip it. Comrade, thank you for gifting a sub. There's so many dailies. Comrade, thank you for gifting another sub. Mystery Man for 14 months. Test Drive for 12. Leo for 7. Keelan for 35. Captain for 16. Cookie for 21 of Prime. Q for 35. And Lair for 24. And Darksider for 20. Thank you all. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Very much. Very much. Need the Doom version of this emote. That's true. Do we even have that one? I was asking earlier if we needed any new 7TV emotes. I thought we had that one. Maybe we just don't. There you go. Let me check what I have. Sort by new. Yeah, we just added a few earlier. How do I just view my emote library in the new version of this thing? Emote sets, there we go, there we go. That was too many clicks to get to that. That was too many clicks. Hold on, I'm scrolling down. We have a bunch of new ones for today. Yesterday I added last night I added these two. Oops. Sorry, these 3. And we also now have Kakopog, Cockoj. Unfortunately, we have Goatsy Demon. I'm gonna shit yourself. And Doom. Ta-da! I like all these. I really like, I'm like really happy. That one I've seen a lot of people use in other chats. It's been really funny. Yeah, Kachorpa, that thing fucks. Kachorpa is so fucking cool, man. Kachorpa goes crazy. One I'm sad not more of you used was for Easter we added Easter. I feel like not many people used Easter, but it was kind of a banger emote. For today, another relevant one is that. And then here's the emote. I don't know if you guys saw when I added this. It's just 5 closed parentheses. Closing parentheses, okay? Look at this emote. It's so good. And I love that it has, like, no particular name. I had not seen that. Yeah, I added this one, like, late at night. It's really good. It's really good. A beautiful find, so I've added that. It's wild. Yeah, open bracket. No, that one's really good. Personal favorite, so I've got that going. Would it be useful? Oh. You'll have your moments. You'll find a good time. Anyway, if there are any other emotes we need today, like as we're playing Doom and you're like, oh man, you need this one, you need that one, let me know. And we'll see what we can add. I feel like there's something else. I feel like there's another update, but maybe there's not another update. Maybe there isn't. I don't know. I feel like I had something that I was gonna say or go over, but now it's whatever. If I remember it, that means it was important. If I don't remember, it means it wasn't important. That's just how it goes. Might need an emote for crashing. Yeah, so I you think it'll go hard during an RP stream? I agree. I opened the game and changed a bunch of settings before the stream. I like did some setup with that. And I opened it, got it going, opened options. And in the middle of the options screen, it was like, oh, bug splat, and it crashed. And I was like, oh, okay. Bethesda moment, but we'll see what happens. I mean, either way, you just open it again, I guess. You know, I did open it again. It did not crash. I adjusted all my settings. I put everything down to like medium. I put everything down to like medium and turned off like motion blur, all that stuff that tends to cause issues. But I think the crashing is not related to that, to graphics alone, like stuff that you could adjust in game to make it do it less. I really don't think that's that. Outside of the crashing, people have been saying they've been liking the game, so we'll just persevere. It's whatever.
Just realized I didn't have 7TV. I've unlocked a whole new universe.
You didn't have it? Oh, well, fix that. If it's ever weird for you, I would suggest switching to FFZ. Can't believe I'd let Bethesda invest them with bugs. Yeah, one thing that I thought was weird, people were saying that, like, there's just ray tracing in the game by default, and you can't turn it off. There's no setting for ray tracing. It's just a thing baked in. I have a 3080 Ti, okay? I have a 3080 Ti and I'm streaming. I always turn off ray tracing. Always. So for me, if it appears, it appears. There's some GPUs that just straight up don't even do it. So will mine just do it? I don't know. It might. I'm not sure. But yeah, some people are saying for them that they just couldn't even touch it. So we'll see. Knowing ID software, they'll likely be patching it and optimizing like crazy over the coming months. Oh, they will. They will. They will. But it's just, I mean, this is the new norm, right? Games release and it's just like this day one. Because patching exists. You know? It's going to be a thing going forward. I think so too. Yeah. I think so too. So, I don't know. Eternal did run really well. So I have confidence that they'll be able to fix it over time, but you know, it'd be nice if things released and you could play them. Right? I think for me, I'll probably just be able to play it, but there will be some people that just won't be able to, you know? So that kind of sucks. Dragon's Dogma 2 was the worst in that regard for you? It was rough for me too. I wanted to play the game more, but the way it ran for me was just so shit. And it did get better after they patched stuff, but the first while was not good for me. I don't know, man. Love that triple buffering VSync on is default. Yeah, that's why I was like, let me make sure I open this before stream. And I turn that the fuck off, yeah. Put all graphics down to medium, so hopefully they're fine. There you go. There you go. Yeah, giga latency of hell. They had that, and then they have also a thing, an NVIDIA thing turned on where they're like, oh, this helps with buffering, this helps with latency. And I'm like, these things don't really go together. That you've got going on here, you know? This is fucked, man. It was kind of fucked. ID Tech itself usually runs like voodoo magic. Usually. So that's why I'm saying, I think over time they'll probably be all right. Give it time and they'll sort it out. But for now on release, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I just hope it gets better. So if I want to continue to stream it, then, you know, I'm not having issues. But we'll see. Oh, they're using ray tracing for projectile hit detection as well. That makes sense. That makes sense. But I don't think you need to do everything they're doing for that to function. Like there's visual ray tracing for constant rendering of those visuals, and then there's what you're talking about, which can be invisible. So I think I don't know if it's necessary. I really don't know if it is. Optimization is probably the hardest facet, you mean, of game development to make work. Yeah, this is why I say it all the time. While I didn't love the game, it was pretty cool. I didn't love it. Atomic Heart. That game was a bit weird. It had some things in it I didn't like, but overall, pretty cool game. The optimization. That game was one of the most visually beautiful games. I did not, on my GPU and while streaming, I did not have to turn the graphics way down or anything. And it was so well optimized. And you would go from something that felt like a cutscene but was rendered in game engine into boom gameplay, and everything about it visually was beautiful, and the way it played, the way it felt, everything was so well optimized. It was insane. People could play it on a potato and it would look beautiful. And it was one of the only games where I left VSync on because it helped and it ran better with VSync on. It was like insanely good. So I actually really liked a lot of things about Atomic Heart. Horny refrigerator was too much. Yeah. Like Ryuko said, game went hard on mute. I felt the music was good, but God, I hated the dialogue. Also, the guy saying crispy critters anytime anything happened was so weird. But it was a direct translation, so I mean, I guess. But that game was such a good example of like how optimization is supposed to be, how it's supposed to work. So I know now like what the standard is because of that game, right? That one proved how much you can do. And you know, everyone else who's not focusing on that is just choosing not to. They're just choosing to not put the time or budget into it. And that's sad. Yeah, in the horny fridge. It's a Neon White type dialogue. No. Neon White's dialogue was cringe but good. It was funny. It was like it embraced its own cringe, right? It was aware of itself. Atomic Heart was more like it thought it was actually good and cool, but also the translations weren't that good. So that kind of, you know, played in because it wasn't initially in English. So you have to get a localization team, and then the way it was localized was kind of, you know, But no, I felt like Neon White was pretty great. even if it was cringe, it was like that was the point. So I enjoyed it. I did. Forgot about the fridge. Yeah, the fridge was. I think the writing of it, like the idea of it, was totally fine. It was the execution, but I think people put things like that in games to get people to play them, right? Like they had the two the female robots, the androids, whatever they were called, and they had like a weird. They had some scenes with them that were so like overtly sexual and odd. But then the point of the scene, like what was happening in it, was not sexual. It was just they just made it look that way. It was just really good marketing, you know? It was really good marketing. And people would be like, oh, I'm going to play that game because it's got the sexy robots in it. And like, that was it. I thought that was fine. I thought that was totally fine. I don't know. That's just marketing. I said English localization has been kind of bad lately. I agree. I agree. There have been a lot of games where the localization has just been like really weird, really weird. I don't know. I feel like some games do it well. Like I could speak on Kazan specifically because like the OG's Korean, you know. So as I'm hearing the voices, I'm listening to what they're saying, and then I'm looking at the translation and the subtitle. And while it doesn't all mean the same thing, it had the right meaning and the right feeling. So that one was done pretty well. So there are some examples out there, you know, of good, but I don't know. I don't know. There's some games where like the translation is too literal, and then it doesn't work for that audience. They're not thinking about audience, right? That's why it's called localization and not translation. It's to make it work for the people who are supposed to be playing it. And sometimes I feel like they're just doing translation. They're just kind of leaving it like that. It's why 2B looks like that. They won't draw an audience at a game about nihilism without her. Yeah. Yes. That's exactly it. Like the draw is there for a reason. And then while you're there, you uncover a masterpiece and you're like, wow, I really like this game about nihilism, you know? Also, it has 2B in it, right? It's just there to draw people. I think it's good. Nothing wrong with that. So lately, any show you watch that's translated into English, but you keep the subtitles on, doesn't line up with the dialogue at all. Super weird. You know what I really hated? I was watching, there are a lot of shows I watch on Netflix, and quite a few of them are originally Korean. The translations are often so wrong, and it's like they're getting the gist of what's being said, but the way they're saying it gives you a completely different impression of the person on the screen and what they said. I swear to God, the Korean translators are so bad. Also, there's something that really bothers me. They use the term nerve-wracking very often when translating. Whoever's on the Korean Netflix translation team, right, where they're translating from Korean to English, keeps spelling nerve-wracking wrong, and it's pissing me off. There's a W in that, as if you are being racked with tremors. To rack, W-R-A-C-K, right? They keep spelling it without the W, and it's pissing me off. It's pissing me off. How are you on a localization team and you can't spell this one word? And who's letting this happen on multiple shows? Multiple shows. I don't know. How do you miss that? They're not checking it back over? I don't know. They're not using Google Translate. There are times where Google Translate would have done a better job on giving you the meaning of a thing that someone says. They try to like do cool localization. Like someone will be like, "Oh, I like that." And they'll translate it and the subtitle will say, "That's dope." That's dope. But the person said, "That's really pretty." Like someone's like wearing an outfit and they're like, "What do you think?" And they're like, "Ippo." Ippo is like it's pretty or it's nice looking. They go, "Oh, ippo." And then the subtitle says, "That's dope." What the fuck is that? Like it's like that's not what they said, and it's not even the vibe of what they said. It's completely the wrong vibe. They didn't even use slang to say it looks nice. They used a normal word. So there's so many times where they like yeah, do it fit dough, do it fit dough. That's dope. They keep putting these words in that like the person didn't even use a slang term. So why are and the way they're acting, the things they're saying, don't even give the impression that they would say that word in English either. So like, I don't know, man. I don't know. That dress is so skibbity. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. They accept it without a W in the UK. Use both forms of spelling. Yeah, well, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't know. I feel like a lot of the translations from Korean to English are just so they're like inserting all of this slang and all of this flavored language that has the wrong flavor, and it's like not what the person's saying at all. What the fuck is that, Ryuko? Some Wig Magic Clock and a gag here. I'm gonna throw up. Oh god. Oh god. UK and US English are separate subtitle options. It's true, it's true. I just think it's important to use spellings of things that don't change the potential meaning. Therefore, adding the W is good. That's all. That's all. None of those words are in the Bible. Wig isn't in the Bible. The other day I was sending a friend a bunch of weird Bible quotes. I was sending them passages, but I wasn't copy-pasting the passage. I was just sending them. I would be like, Proverbs 23 or whatever the fuck. And and I was sending them like these, and then they'd have to go look it up, and all of them were so weird. So weird. Isn't nerve-wrecking with an E? No. No, it's nerve-wracking. W-R-A-C-K. Let's hear the dictionary definition of rack is it's like to be what's the right word for this? To like subject you to something bad. It's more of like yeah, shudder. I was gonna say like if someone is like racked with blank, it means that you're probably about to say they're racked with tremors. Like if someone is shivering, racked with shivers. That's kind of a way that you see that. And then when the word nerve-wracking comes up, they're using that version of rack. So it's to be I guess incredibly stressed, and often it has this feeling of like there's emotion, like shuddering or shivering, kind of associated with it, and that is kind of what you get out of that. Trembling, yeah. To shake up, I think is a good way to say it. Like your nerves. When someone says I feel very shaken, it's the same idea. It's the same visual, imagery that you get from that kind of word. So it comes from the same thing. Can it also mean rack as in racking an item, like putting it on a shelf? No, it doesn't. It doesn't share that meaning. It's not coming from the same use of the word. Yeah. There's a few people saying, isn't a rack something like a shelf? Yeah, a rack without a W is. I'm saying to rack with a W is something else. It's just pronounced the same. You don't pronounce the W. We're talking about with the W. And that's why I think when they say nerve-wracking, they shouldn't accept the spelling of it without the W, because now you're mixing it up more commonly with another word that means something else. So it's better to just leave the W on so people can see it through spelling and go, oh, it's that version of rack, and understand it, better. Doesn't racking cause earthquakes? The earth was racked with earthquakes. Yeah, fracking is what you're thinking of. I love fracking. I love it. Anyway, that's why I'm a proponent of, like, I know people will always make that argument. They'll be like, oh, Merriam-Webster now accepts this. Merriam-Webster now accepts that. they're not accepting it and saying it's correct or better. They're saying when a lot of people say this or write this, they mean this thing. Here's the definition of what they mean. They're not saying this is the optimal use or we've decided this is fine. That's not what it is. They're just like, yeah, enough people spell it this way that we can define it because we see it in that usage a lot. That's all. That's all that Merriam-Webster is saying. Right, common usage. They're just like, that's what that means if we're trying to associate this spelling and this word with what people mean by it when they say it. It's this. That's all. And it's, for me, you know, I like to be a hard ass about spelling or using the right version of a word or whatever, because a lot of the time these small differences exist because English is so complex, and if you don't differentiate a lot of things, then you get a lot of things mixed up and it makes the language harder for people to understand. So, yeah. Hate the conflation of literally with figuratively. I know. I know. It's awful. English is hard, Dale. It's a kind of fucky language, so that's why I'm always like, I think it's better to be really particular about grammar and spelling and all that, because for people who this is not their first language, making sure everything is slightly differentiated helps them understand what the fuck is on the paper. But when you have everything like spelled the same way and you spell things incorrectly and just accept it, it just complicates it for no reason, and it makes it harder for those people. Yeah, English is a vibe language. It's true. It is. They now also accept misfairs as well, like I could care less. Yeah, well, right, because when the phrase is I couldn't care less, meaning it is impossible for me to care any less about this thing. So someone says, do you want to go to the store? Or no, and you say, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less, right? You're like, I don't care either way, right? But a lot of people say I could care less because the int at the end, the N apostrophe T, is like, when you speak quickly, you don't even hear it sometimes. So they think it's I could, and then they write I could because they always mishear it, right? Stuff like that is so stupid, because imagine someone who doesn't speak English seeing that written. They see the sentence, I could care less. They're going to look at that and define it and translate it in their brain and think the opposite, you know? So that's why I think things like that should be corrected, because it's literally the opposite meaning, you know? Or should of. Should of means nothing. That's a nothing phrase. Should have makes sense. So it's weird. It's weird. I feel like English is a shitty bag of words. Yeah, it's just a lot of borrowed shit. Yeah, shoulda. What about flammable and inflammable? What do you mean by that? Because in my head, flammable means it can be set ablaze. Inflammable means it cannot be set ablaze. Also, it has 2 M's in it. Are you talking about the number of M's, or flammable, inflammable are the same thing? They're not. They're colloquially they are, like, on labeling, if that's what you mean. Like how they're used on labeling. You don't mean the actual definition, right? Because the definition of it, like, on paper is different. But yeah, on, like, labeled products, they will like, you know, put the words interchangeably on that. Inflammable means the same thing, can catch. No, it doesn't. Yeah, inflammable, exactly. Okay, one person said the right thing. Inflammable, I-N, means it is not flammable. Inflammable with an E is what you are all thinking of, which means it can be caught on fire, meaning it's flammable. The E-N is not needed there, but it's just, it can be. But because a lot of people pronounce them the same, they started writing it with the I, inflammable, meaning inflammable, meaning flammable. It was all not needed. None of it was needed ever. None of this was ever necessary. You know? So it was just, I think you mean non-flammable. They used to use in for it a long time ago, but because people started saying it meaning inflammable, they just accepted it as it doesn't mean the opposite anymore. It just means flammable. That's one of those ones that, like, the base initial definition is not supposed to be what it is. Easily identified according to Google since the 17th century. I've seen it used both ways for a very long time. I've seen it used both ways, and that's the thing. It will always be confusing because I think it's always been messed up. Right? This is not... A lot of the things that we're talking about are like new things, like new happenings of people recently using something incorrectly. That one is one that's been like weird for a long time. And I find it's because of industries, actually, a lot of stuff that happens with this. Because someone who is working in construction might say inflammable, meaning it's not flammable. But someone in a laboratory might say inflammable, meaning meaning it is possible, it can be, like to inflame. And they'll be like, okay, so this is fine. And because they're two different roots of two different things, two different industries use them differently, it confuses the fuck out of people who aren't in either of those industries and just hear the words. So you know what I mean? It's one of those things that, like, confuses a lot of folks because... Actually, yeah, Herb said it. Or not Herb, sorry. JD said it. It's to inflame, right? And that's what I mean. Like, the root in can mean something else. So it depends on language of origin. It depends on so many different things. So there are certain industries where they'll say in meaning opposite, and others where they say in meaning it can to do this thing, right? And it just confuses the fuck out of it. And I feel like there are a good number of words that have been like that for a very long time. And that's it. That's it. You just, you go into one area and there might be a certain type of usage where it means the opposite. You go into one other area and it means this thing. And it's just like, what the fuck? It's just fucky. You say inflamed but not enflamed. Yeah. You're the head writer for a small community lore team for an RP game server trying to communicate information through a wiki in English is incredibly frustrating because there's so many variables to the information received from written text. Yeah. We were really confused with incinerable in English. Yeah, so there's... The prefix in has a few versions. And because English borrows from other languages... That is the worst thing ever, because then you'll see a prefix and you'll think, oh, this is like what this means. This is what I've learned. But then, language of origin is different. It's actually the opposite. It's actually this thing instead. I googled inflammable can mean combust without fire. It can. That's what I'm saying. It's been fucky for a long time. It can. But there are also industries where it means the opposite. So that's the problem. It's like it's used differently in different contexts and usually by different groups of people. So in usually means not. Right. So that's what I'm saying industry, because there are a lot of products where they'll put a label on there that says inflammable, and it means it cannot catch fire. That is what that means when it's on certain products because of the industry it's in and because of how those people decided to use it. So it's one of those things that's just like, you have to do guesswork. And when it's dealing with something like, can this catch fire or not? That's really fucking dangerous to not know when you're just looking at a label. It's really awful. I found, I won't go into too much detail, but with old lab equipment, there were a lot of times where they would write that word on there and it meant cannot catch fire, which is weird because in other things you would see that word and it means it can. And that is odd. And I don't like that. I think they should just put the word flammable on there so you don't have to guess. Because it means the same thing. It doesn't need the in on it. They should just put flammable. Or they could say cannot be set on fire. Like just write it out. And I know it's cool to leave things on labels that are shorter, but like, it's bad. It's a concerning level of ambiguity when dealing with chemicals. Yeah. And I don't know how much of it, as I'm thinking back, I don't know how much of that came from translations either. If that, like, you know, container of that thing was produced in some place that's not English speaking, I wonder if some of it might come from that. I'm not sure. But yeah, a lot of lab shit would say that, and you would have to like really guess or like look it up and you know, it's a little spooky. It's a little spooky, man. Like non-flammable. Yeah, like non is such a, it's so much better to put that in front of something when it means cannot do this or cannot be this, because non like always means no, right? It always means no, and you can be sure of that. So that makes me more comfortable when I'm looking at a package of a thing going, will I die? Question mark, you know, like I'd rather see non than like than in, because yeah, there's a lot of shit that like, I don't know if it's translations or what, but it's used interchangeably to mean two opposite things, and it's just so fucking weird. That's why hazard protocols require pictures. Yeah, nowadays they all do. A lot of old stuff kind of didn't, or they did for certain things and not other things. Yeah, I'd much rather see a little symbol that looks like a triangle and just has a fire on it, right? Like a little flame. So you can't possibly mess that shit up. I don't know, man. Inflammable, similar to invaluable and infamous. The in is an intensifier rather than negation. I wouldn't say intensifier, but yeah, you could take it that way. You could take it that way. It's like, yeah, that's a good way to put it. I would accept that, yeah. It just, yeah, I could explain it differently, but I feel like that's better. Fire bad. I feel like if they print that on the side of something, they go fire bad fire, you'd have a better understanding. You would. Yeah, we mixed gendered French with Latin and dumped that pile onto Old English and then shipped it onto a new continent. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I've encountered over the years that I have a lot of friends that are ESL, and they'll ask me like, what does this mean? What does that mean? And the number of times I have to pick apart the word and tell them why this means this, why that means that. No, this root is from this language. They'll be like, oh, I thought that was like an old Latin word for this. And I'm like, yeah, it's spelled the same. It's actually an old French word that means something else entirely. And I have to like give this whole explanation for a singular word, and then their prefixes and suffixes, sometimes from different languages of origin. So they're trying to figure out the conventions of like why this works or why this means this thing. It's too much. It's too much. Why say lot word when few do trick? Right? Anyway, TLDR, this is why I think it's important to spell things right, or to use a lot of different things to differentiate a lot of words, and to not simplify things and try to crunch them down all to the same meanings and blah, blah, blah. It's too much. It's too much, man. Like passion and patience? No, not at all. Those are just different words. Those are easy. English beats up other languages in a dark alley and takes their words. It's... I mean, realistically, all languages have some measure of this. English just has it the worst. They have it the worst. I think a good example is actually a lot of modern African languages. They have a lot of things that are really, really fucked between the languages and what they've taken from, and then also a lot of colonialism that has influenced a lot of this. And it's a good modern example of like what the hell happened to English. You know, how did it get this way? Got in trouble as kids for flipping the placards on 18-wheelers to the radioactive picture. Oh my god, that's diabolical. You just flip it so everyone thinks that they have radioactive shit. That's terrible. It's reasons like that why they start putting like unnecessary locks on things and all that. They invented a lot of nice and logical languages around 1900, but none of them took off. I mean, what's the point unless you're going to sit there and put the effort in teaching everyone this from when they're born, right? Like, a lot of language and understanding of it is innate and tied to your early years. They do a lot of studies on this. There are a lot of really interesting ones about people who... There aren't many people to study who are in this scenario, but there are people that have existed that have not learned speech until later in life and weren't even around people talking until later in life. And a lot of this research has kind of showed that there are early years that are absolutely formative. It's like while certain parts of your brain are developing, that's when you should be learning speech. So if you want to like have everyone speak a different language and learn a different version of English that's simplified and more logical, whatever, and you want them to learn this as adults, they're just not going to do it. They're just going to default to the one that they feel, quote unquote, more, which is, you know, whatever their native language is, whatever they learned when they were younger. They're just going to go back to that every time. So I feel like it's a cool endeavor. It's a cool thing, but you just can never get it to kick off in practice. You really can't. Yeah, try to force it. Seems like an impossible undertaking. I think it's not worth it. Not worth even trying. You got a specific sausage in your skull that deals with language. Yeah, no, a lot of them are developed at certain age ranges, and you can still add things to them, but, you know, a lot of how that functions is affected in certain little brackets of years. Kids speaking brain rot nowadays. I feel like they always have. It's a little worse now, but I feel like that was always the case. I'm pretty sure. Anytime there was media of any kind, but I find that kids always do that. You ever babysit a kid? Okay, before the brain rot era, you ever babysit a kid? And they're like, I want to watch a movie. And you're like, okay, what do you want to watch? I want to watch Aladdin. You put on the VHS, because it's back then, of Aladdin. They watch it. They repeat that funny thing the parrot says 100 fucking times. Everywhere they go, everything they do, they say that line that the parrot says, whatever. Like, they just love that. They love that. They find one thing funny or interesting, and they attach to it. And then the next day, it's time to go to bed. What do you want to watch? I want to watch Aladdin. We just watched that yesterday. I want to watch it again. Like, they really, I think they just love repetition. And when they think something's new and funny, it's literally the funniest thing they've ever heard, because they haven't heard many things at all yet. They haven't lived a life yet. So they're just like, yeah, I would like this thing again 100 times. and they just do that. I don't know. So I think it's worse, but like it's a mechanism of kids' brains that's always been there, right? Humor kids use is more complex now, though. It's like 3 layers deep, ironic and sincere all at once. No, I think we always had complex humor. I think more of it is that it's made by them rather than made by an adult and put in front of them, if that makes sense. Coding stream when? Fucking never. I never did anything with that because I enjoyed it. I did it because the end result was enjoyable. I don't really have a deep interest in it. I don't, even if I did that sort of thing for fucking years. I didn't dislike it, which is why I enjoyed my work. But it's not something that would ever carry over to like streaming and be like, oh, I'd love to build a whatever on stream. Absolutely not. It's also not something I can do with eyes on me. because I'll be tempted to talk about it, explain it, whatever. And if I was doing that sort of thing, I would want to just lock in. I would just go nonverbal and sit there and build a thing. I'd be so inefficient if I was trying to do it on stream. There would be like no point. You know? VTubers should have programmers as they have artists? For fucking what? Though. Everything already exists in an out-of-the-box tool. We don't need that. Can I ask how long it took you to learn to code? I don't know. I mean, basically since I used a computer and understood how to use a computer, I started taking interest in that sort of stuff. And learned how to do, like, little things here and there. So, there's that. I don't know, you learn a lot of different languages, so it's learning to code, quote unquote, is like, I don't know. like how long did it take me to go from first understanding a language to then building like a whole actual usable system in it or something is maybe the question, but I don't know. I learned a lot of different things at once, so I can't really like quantify it. I don't know, man. You got a degree in CS years ago, haven't touched a code editor in years. Really? Most people that go into CS end up in a job where they would, but there are a lot of tangential positions to find coding. Yeah, that's so broad. I mean, you don't learn coding. You learn a specific language and how to build things in that language. More so. But the base concepts of it, I feel like anyone could read about it and kind of understand it in like a day, to be honest. Being able to actually make a thing is dependent on learning that language and the quirks of that language, and practicing. It's really like, you know, it's a separate thing. You said, but can barely have music on while you code? I always had to work silently. I never understood people who would do work, anything related to programming, and they'd have like music on, or they'd listen to a podcast on the side. I was like, what? I would take my headset off and I would just sit in a silent room. If there was random noise around, because like office sounds, wouldn't bother me as long as I wasn't actively listening to anything. Music included. I cannot hear music in the background and not a little bit actively listen to it, so I'd have to turn it off. And I would just work like that. I would go nonverbal and just shit stuff out. That's just how it goes. Said I've been coding for like 15 years. There's nothing I love more than building functional things. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed a lot of the work that I did. But without going into too much detail, a lot of the stuff that I did would not be in any way interesting as a stream. I look at some of the stuff that people do when they do programming streams, and then I think about the stuff that I did, and it would be... you would not like it. No one would want to watch it unless they were trying to learn how to do that specific thing. No, it's not. None of it's entertaining or interesting. Well, I thought it was interesting, but maybe if you like math a lot, that's it. And the interesting parts of it were not the way I was building the thing so much as whatever math was being done, and that I would not... I don't like explaining my work, to be honest with you. When I'm sitting there working on a thing like that, there is nothing I hate more than having to explain what I'm doing to someone, because it's one of those things that putting in layman's terms just sucks the soul out of my body. So I just no. I think I would actively hate doing a coding stream. I would. You said, yeah, I never watch programming streams, can't follow what someone else is doing without knowing about their project. Yeah, you kind of have to know top to bottom what they're making, right? It's just, I don't know. But your whole job was explaining stuff to people that didn't have a clue? First of all, that wasn't my whole job. That was a big part of it. Second of all, yeah, there's a reason why I was, like, going crazy. There was a reason why I loved and hated what I did at the same time. There were parts about it that were great. There were parts about it that were so interesting. It's a lot of very unique work. There was a lot of stuff like that part that I just couldn't stand, but I was the one who was good at it, so I had to do it. No teaching desires? No. Absolutely not. I would always, my own teachers would always be like, you should be a teacher. You should look into teaching. And I would say, fuck no, because I hated teaching. I did a bunch of, like when I was in college especially, I did a bunch of tutoring and stuff like that for money on the side. I did a lot of tutoring. I hated it. I was a TA for a lot of classes. Hated it. I did it for the benefit of it because I needed that money or I needed to, you know, get those credits or whatever. I do not like teaching. I don't. I wish that anyone who asks me about a thing already knows about it and I can yap about it and then they yap about it. And we're both like, yep, handshake. I know about that too. That's my preferred scenario in this world, okay? I don't like teaching people who don't know about a thing when it's complex. When it's something simple, we're just talking about it, it's fine. But when it's complex, no. There are a lot of times I just give up and I go, look, TLDR, you just got to know this. I don't like being responsible for someone else actually understanding something. I just like talking about things. Yeah, teaching is fun when the person you're teaching grasps things quickly, but if they're not, it's hell. Yeah, and you know, a lot of tutoring is sitting there re-explaining things because the standard way to teach it is probably already like not hitting for that person and they're not absorbing it. So you have to go around it and dance around it and find like 5 different ways to explain it until one sticks. And just because you're good at that doesn't mean you like that. You know? It's not the case. Would it be alright if I asked your help in chat self about a neat project I am doing? I would do it in the Discord. Community is very, very forthcoming with information and very willing to help with stuff. We even have a chat in there that is specifically about tech and programming and making shit. You only like teaching people stuff in public communities on Discord because you can just decide to ignore things you don't want to explain. Yep. That's why lecturing is so much better than like sitting down and tutoring someone. Because when you're lecturing, you're just being paid to say it and to explain it once. When you're tutoring, you're being paid to make that person understand. And you're now responsible for them understanding. And I don't like that. I don't like that. No, thank you. Working in support, you often see someone ask a question. You can see the whole tree of misunderstood concepts that get them to where they are and how much work it would be to rebuild them. Yeah, I when I was like TA in college courses, you know, I would do office hours and kids would come in and ask things and you would talk to them about it. And a lot of the time you would realize that they got to this course having not understood what happened in the earlier courses. They just like memorized some stuff and tried really hard to make that test work. So they got a certain test score and then they just like moved ahead. But by the time they get to a certain level of course, in the upper level courses, they had to actually understand what they were doing to do the work. So you'd realize that they got there by like failing upward. And that was rough because sometimes I'd have to have real conversations with them and be like, hey, you don't understand this stuff at all. The stuff leading up to this. So you're not going to understand this thing to pass this test. And you can't come in here with the attitude of, I just want to pass the test because you're past that point. You know, like you're at the point of no return where that doesn't work anymore. So I can't even help you do that. You know, and I had to really like explain that to so many people. And you know, then you go back and you start re-explaining old concepts and I'd have to give them old reading and be like, you have to look over this thing and understand this and then come back. And it would just, I would feel bad because they would just like deflate. You could see how defeated they would feel telling them like all that stuff you did, all that time you spent was useless because you didn't actually learn anything. And it would be their own fault. It would genuinely be their own fault that they never tried to learn. They just were like, I just want to pass this test. But at the same time, it makes you really question these like school systems where they don't test them for understanding. They just like make them slap some answers on a piece of paper that demonstrate that they knew the answer, not how to get there, and then that's it, right? I don't know. It's rough. It's rough. It feels bad to tell them that. And then I would feel bad because they would like pay me. They would hire me. I had so many people I would do one tutoring session and then I would refuse pay because I would be like, hey, I'm just going to tell you to go back and do this thing and I'm not going to sit here and tutor you because you got to do it. And I would just be like, don't pay me. Just read this section of this thing and, you know, and then pay me if you come back and I actually get to tutor you, you know? It's a lot of wasted hours on that. Yes, it's a hard pill to swallow once you realize you've also been paying for the education. Right, that's what would make me feel the worst. It's time wasted, but the amount of money they would pay for that, like you're paying, if you're going to college in America, right, you're paying for a certain perceived level of education. And education is not getting, well, it's not supposed to be, getting a piece of paper that says maybe you can do a thing, sort of. Yeah, I studied this. It's supposed to be actually learning something that you can apply, but obviously it's not that, right? Like in practice, it's not that anymore. So that sucks. That sucks, man. It's rough. Yeah, you said, I know how to take tests. I don't know how good I am at learning my college experience. Yeah, where I was, there were a lot of students that they were like really good straight A students, but especially in math, they were there because they memorized things and they were really good at memorizing. They were there because they learned this formula and how to apply it, but they didn't know why they were applying it. They didn't actually know what those variables truly represented in practice. Ugh! And it was rough, man. Primable King, Jesus Christ. Thank you for the 50. Huge. Thank you for the 50 gifted subs, man. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, a lot of stuff that was math related. When I had these students that were in upper level courses, so many of them had to drop out of what they were doing. There were so many people being like, I want a math degree. And I was like, all right, well, fucking, you better like math. Or the moment we put them in applied math, a lot of them did a little better. But there was always like this wall that they would hit because they would realize that they didn't know the applications of any of these things. And honestly, it was just statistics. Statistics killed everyone. They got to stats, and not like baseline. They got to like upper level stats, and they just died. The moment we put them into like case studies, it was over. It was over for so many of them. And that was like my most favorite thing to explain. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Here's how you can apply this in the real world. It's so great. And like, they didn't like it, man. They would understand the concept, but then when you'd be like, do a simulation to represent this thing, they'd be like, oh, they would start breaking down. I loved it. I loved it so much, but they did not. I love stats and calculating bell curves. And that's the thing, that's like stats 1. That was like the easiest part of it. Percentages, bell curves. You know, like this is so baseline and fundamental. And I think a lot of people can understand those things. But when we got like deeper, when we got way deeper into it, it was that's where a lot of people, those class sizes went from really large to like 8 kids. Straight up. Like so many people would get into those and drop out, and like the professors would all say it. They'd be like, oh, you see these 60 students in here, 8 of them will be left by the end of the semester. And I at first thought they were like joking. They were not joking. They were not joking. Stats are unintuitive. You need the brain for it. They're not. Yeah, they're not intuitive. But well, I think they are when you study in a certain way and you gain a certain understanding of how and why these things work. But yeah, figuring out the formulas for things or coming up with your own formula to solve an issue is not intuitive. That is just rote math, and it's a little difficult. Well, it's very difficult. You said you hated stats in abstract, easily worked with them in practice. Yeah, it's one or the other for a lot of people, usually not both. So stats sunk you. Yeah. Yeah. Stats was the most useful math you ever learned. Probably do that if you didn't code. I think in the real world, in the modern world, where everything's at large scale all the time and you're working in companies that are trying to sell things to a lot of people, it is the most valuable thing. Yes, it is so valuable to really get your brain on that. But they don't, I think the way they teach it is shitty. I think the way they teach it in high school is really shitty, and no one's ready for anything related to stats when they get out of high school. But yeah, the way they teach it sucks, man. But it's so useful, even if you're going for like a marketing job, right? Being able to understand slightly more advanced stats could do so much for you. But no, they're like, we're gonna do advertising. Let's make a poster that people would like. You know, it's they focus more on that and the business side of it, and I'm like, really, they should know all of this, but okay. You did better in upper level math where it was mostly proof writing. The proofs helped you understand the why, and it wasn't about memorizing formulas. Yeah, I loved proofs. I loved them to death. And so many kids would get in there, and immediately the first thing they would say when you'd be like, what do you like, what do you not like when it comes to math? Everyone would be like, I hate proofs. And I'm like, well, proofs are about to save your life, buddy. So, you know, get used to them. Get used to them. And you can use them in like all areas of mathematics too. Especially theoretical math. You use a proof to show on paper reasoning why something should theoretically work. Or even if you don't have a perfect proof, it's not a fully proven proof. It's a proof to show why we can narrow down a range of potential answers. And it's really good, okay? It's really good. A lot of students would be like, I hate proofs, but I felt like that was the thing that got them, like, getting it. Having an understanding that they needed.
Have you seen Henya's reactions to the Angry Video Game Nerd?
Nope. I have not. You know, I've actually never watched anything from Angry Video Game Nerd. I've seen that, like, name mentioned. I've never actually watched anything of his, question mark? Theirs? Is it one guy? I don't even know. I don't know. He's been around for forever. Yeah, no, I've always seen the name. I was never exposed to it. Not that I was resistant to it. I just, I wasn't someone who watched a lot of YouTubers. Especially when it came to gaming. I just played games. And I didn't really, like, watch content about games very much. One of my brothers always did, so he'd tell me about stuff. So I would hear these names, and I would be, like, aware of them, because he would walk up to me and go, oh my god, I just watched a video from this person that did this thing, and he'd, like, yap about it. I'd be like, okay, all right, okay. But I would just, like, open a game and play it. I don't know. It's just one of those things that it kind of missed me because I wasn't really, like, one to watch YouTubers that much. Whether it's about gaming or other stuff. One of the pioneers of internet gaming culture. Yeah, for sure. I know that much because it was one of the first names that I always heard. But, I don't know, I never really, like, I wasn't really into it. Not in a bad way, not like I disliked it, I never sat there and watched a lot of YouTube. I think I was really involved with, back in the day, pre-YouTube, with YTMND, okay? And that kind of content. And then I saw YouTube, and I was like, I'm just here for shit jokes. And a lot of early YouTube stuff was like vlogging, and I wasn't really, like, that into it. So I just never really attached to it. And it wasn't until recent years that I started to actually watch a lot of videos on YouTube, and even then, it's just really specific stuff. YouTube poop era. I wasn't even that involved with that. I was like pre that, like the same type of content, yes. And then like YouTube poop era was a big thing, and I'd seen some videos, but I wasn't a person who would get home, go to the website, look up videos, or like let it recommend stuff like that to me. I just didn't like develop that habit ever. But I was also really busy. I was really busy. I've described how busy my life has been in general, so I was really busy. And then if I had time to do anything that was entertainment-wise, I would just play a game. So I never ended up really like doing that. So then when a lot of chatters would be like, "Oh, I remember this guy, I remember that guy. This guy was my childhood or whatever," I'm like, I didn't see that. I usually at least know the name though, because again, like one of my brothers in particular was always like I know everything about Two Best Friends Play, yet only watched like 2 episodes and like 1 clip compilation that he sent me. But my brother would like stand next to me and just tell me about whatever video he just watched. He's like, "I was watching them and they were playing this game and it looks cool because," and he would, you know, pop off and I'd be like, "Okay." And I would listen because I'm a listener, but you know, I just like never really got that exposed to it. The breakup that destroyed old YouTube. I don't even know what they do. I don't even know their names, and it's probably names that I would recognize. I can't tell you who the 2 best friends were. Let me see. I don't know who the 2 best friends were. Who were the OGs? Let me see. The only one from this era that I actually sat there and watched was Wooly. Wooly in particular was the one where I did see Matt and Pat, but not Matt Pat. Yeah. Wooly came later. Yeah, I always like really liked Wooly, and also watch his streams and stuff occasionally. But I remember like a bunch of content that he was involved in that I had seen, but I think the early stuff I didn't really manage to watch much of. I'm looking right now like a timeline of who was involved with what. Wooly, my beloved. Yeah, he was my favorite. He still streams a bunch, doesn't he? I see him around. I don't watch all the time. It's more like if the name pops up and I just manage to see it, I'll just click. You learned about them from Game Grumps because everyone kept comparing the two? It was just because they did the same format, but realistically, there were so many people that did that format of Let's Play with friends. But a lot of it didn't pop off because I feel like that's like doing a D&D group, right? Trying to get 2 people in the same room because filming over the internet was not really as easy back then. So you'd have to get people physically in the same room like you're doing a podcast and sit down and play a game physically next to each other. Or like LAN it or whatever in the same area. And that was that's really hard to organize. If you've ever tried to make people play D&D, you should know. Or it's like a raid group, you know, trying to get that shit to work. And it can be really tough. So I think it was really valuable content because it was hard to make, genuinely. Or not hard, it was annoying to make. Nowadays, though, I mean, it's so easy. I open OBS, I record myself and my mic. We're on Discord. You open OBS, you record yourself and your mic. You're on Discord with me.
Doom is
That's
an accurate portrayal of the monster faction redeems chat.
Thanks, Phoenix. Thank you. But yeah, that was just kind of like, that was how it went. That's how it went. Eventually, and once it became that easy, everyone started making content together over the internet, and it's not like a cool unique thing like, ooh, I'm playing games with my friends though, but like that used to be enough of a gimmick back then where that was like kind of cool. Right? And obviously the people themselves made it good or not. Like the channels that did well were the people that were funny or interesting or whatever, but simply being able to sit there and play games with friends and make videos of that was like a whole thing. It was a whole thing. it was so cool. Because filming like that was so annoying. I think the only reason why Game Grumps ended up sticking around and staying strong is because it was basically being hosted by 2 comedians. Yeah. I wouldn't say the only reason why. I think they just did it right. I think they kept the right attitude toward it, honestly. Never knew what D&D was until my mid-20s. It's one of the oldest games, too. One of the oldest ones that's, like still commonly played. It's getting into board game territory, like proper Mancala, you know. Which I know technically it's a tabletop game. It's technically a board game, but we're getting into, like, Candyland territory with that shit being old. Been lucky in your RP group of friends has been going IRL for, like, 14 years. Yeah, I mean, I still have my group that I did play D&D with. We had a 5-year campaign going on, and I can still see them on anytime. Anytime I can call them up. Some people have moved, but they visit and we see them, and you know, I still have that, like, solid, stable group of friends, which is nice. And I think if you can get a campaign going and you can play D&D with the same people in person for like 3 months, you're doing great. You guys are gonna be friends forever. Okay. If you can do that, you know, you pass the test, because that shit is near impossible with most groups. Ever got custom dice? Yeah. Actually, they're on my shelf over there. Yeah, one of my friends gifted me custom dice a while back. Aaron's been very good adjusting their content and things like video length and release schedule to keep up with the trends in the algo. Yeah, I think YouTube is one of those things where, like, you could do the same thing forever, and sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't, and you gotta adapt. You just have to adapt. Not every show is Top Chef, okay, and has 500 seasons. Or fucking what, Project Runway does that too. Not every show is that on YouTube and has that many seasons. It's just not how it works. So, yeah. Yeah, you have to change it up. Because you're competing. You're not pitching your show to a network and they just let you be on there forever. You're competing against all of these channels that are actively posting. So if you don't adjust quickly, you just get fucked. You do. Longest D&D game as of 2025 is campaign started by Robert A. Wardhoff. However you say that, in 82. It's been running for 43 years. That's crazy. That is crazy. How do you even come up with shit at that point? How often do they play? Probably still not level 20. Well, once you are max level, I mean, it's tough. You can still make a campaign for people to play through, and you can come up with new ideas, whatever, but it becomes a lot more about the role play than, you know, trying to survive. They're probably doing, like, expansions. Anyone here play D&D online? I never did. Yeah, the MMO one? I never did. It kind of looked like shit. Was it good? It's all right. I'm gonna look at the store page for it on Steam. 2012. It looks like shittier WoW. Or the graphics kind of look like 14 as I'm looking at it. Doesn't look that good. But also, I will play shitty MMOs and enjoy them for, 10 hours. So that's okay with me. You know how many shitty MMOs I've played? I've tried, like, all of them. I played through a lot of ones that were really bad. Like, fuck. What was the one where you controlled 3 characters? Granado Espada. Oh my god. What a terrible MMO. I was max level. What a terrible game. I played through so many. played through all of Cabal online. Oof. Oof, that one was really good and really bad at the same time. Just gonna play Dune? No. I looked at it. I was very curious because I saw some people playing Dune Awakening, and I did get an offer not to be sponsored to play it for money, but just like we'll sponsor, quote unquote, a code, basically them giving me the game. And it just doesn't look good at all. It just does not look good at all. Like, no. No Eve phase. I've talked about my Eve phase a lot. I actually played Eve a fuck ton. I did. I loved Eve. I still love Eve. I can't go back. I'll get sucked in. I can't go back. No way. But I think this Dune game looked pretty buns, pretty ass. I don't know, but the full release is June 10th. I'm gonna assume that within this month, they're not going to improve things so much that the game suddenly is fun. I might, if they're giving me a code, I might still give it a shot. Just for the sake of giving it a shot, but no. Eve stream one, never. Never. Also 3, thank you for the sub, welcome on in. I am never going to show who I am in Eve Online. Or what I've done in Eve Online. Or who I've hung out with in Eve Online. Never. Never ever. That is for me. That is for me. Conceal, don't feel. It remains within. Alright? Because I know how that game gets. I know how that community gets. I know how crazy some shit has gotten, and I'm good. I'm good. I'm aight. What is EVE Online? Space and spreadsheets. 2 things I love. 2 things I love so much. But no, I loved Eve. I just feel like some of the drama got so crazy that like it didn't matter what side you were on of different things or who you knew or whether you were even involved in something or not involved. Everyone in some way took some fucking collateral damage from the drama that was going on with all of it. Most of the people were fine, but there were some people that actually did crazy, like, illegal shit. And I was good, you know, I was good. There were a lot of people in that community that would tell each other, like, their real names and things, and they would, like, become IRL friends. And I never wanted to do that because I was like, there's so much drama sometimes that if someone turns on you, but now they also, like, have seen you and know who you are, like, that gets a little crazy. And I know some of it got a little messy. They got a little messy. Yeah, there's actual espionage. It was crazy. So was it in Eve that people were enslaving new players? People were grabbing new players and they were like taking them under their umbrella and they're like, hey, do you want to join my cool club? It was literally how people get other folks to join gangs. They're like, do this little task for me. Oh, I'll pay you for this thing. And they would like have them just do like the most basic farming all day and they'd be like, did I do good today, boss? And it was really fucked up. Happened to you, got ganked by Corpo and they promised to buy you a replacement ship. Yup. It happened all the time. It happened all the fucking time. The Mafia using Eve for money laundering was cool. Yeah, real cool, right? No, crazy shit happened in those days. Absolutely crazy shit. It was nutty. Galactic Sweatshop. Yeah, you should go if you haven't already and you like don't know much about Eve and what went on in that game. You should go watch the Down the Rabbit Hole video. Frederick made a 6-hour, 5-hour, and 55-minute video just called Eve Online. He just called it Eve Online. He made this like 6-hour video that was very comprehensive. And no, he did not move during the video. No, he did not. Really good one though. Really good one. So I would recommend it. I would recommend it. All MMOs pale in comparison to even terms of the whack shit that happens. Yeah. If we're talking about the whack shit, yeah. It was, I had a great time. That's all I'll say. Regardless of anything terrible that happened, I had a great time. And I am done with it. I'm good. Got halfway through it. Finished the video. Do it. Longer than Hamilton. Fuck that musical, man. I liked some things about it, but fuck that musical. Anyway, let's play Doom. I think we need to play Doom. It's time. Now, drops should be on by default. Because I'm opted into, like, forever drops. Always drops. The thing I don't know is, like, do I want to play it on a hard difficulty? Or do I want to just do that on my own? And then play on, like, whatever for the sake of stream? I don't know how much it changes your experience other than it's harder. Nightmare isn't bad. I'm not, like, it depends on the game, but I'm, like, not an FPS god. I think maybe we'll just start in Nightmare, and the moment something takes me too many tries to get through, I just go, fuck it. It's not as hard as Eternal. Oh, okay, then we should be fine. Should be fine. I haven't played a solid FPS in a while, so I'll probably, my aim will be doo-doo garbage, but that's okay. That is A-okay. Let's go... Honestly, Doom was never really about your aim being that good.